Hi, today I'm going to show you how to measure saddles. I've got 4 different style saddles, the 4 most common styles of saddles that you'll see here in the US. And probably one of the most misunderstood is the Australian stock saddle. This little version right here is more of that dressage-y looking Aussie, and it has the monkey grips and basically a very deep seat, long, straight flap that looks a lot like our US dressage saddles with a few extras. They're not measured the same though, and there's this wherein lies the problem with the Aussies. You can find Aussies with a horn on it, you can find them with skirts attached. There's several different ways that the Aussie stock saddle is configured, but they're all measured the same way. They measure them from the very front of the pommel here to where it swells, and that swell on an Aussie, where the seat comes up, it swells over the back. You don't want to measure all that cantle because you're not going to sit in that part. It measures directly straight across from the pommel to the beginning of the swell. This particular saddle measures 18 inches across. Now, if you ride in an 18-inch dressage saddle and think that an 18-inch Aussie is going to fit, you're wrong, because the English saddles are measured from a different spot, and that makes it, actually this one corresponds to about a 16.5-inch English seat. And I'm going to show you how to measure those English saddles next, and you'll see why. This is your standard all-purpose little collegiate saddle. But English saddles in this configuration, either deep-seated all-purpose or flat-seated close contact or dressage, they're all measured the same way. We're going to measure these from the saddle nail button, which is right here. That metal button that's on the front of the saddle, the head nail. We're going to measure from the center of that to the middle of the cantle, right about where that cantle ends. And this one's measuring 16.5 inches. And you can see that it's more of a diagonal measurement than it is, say, front to back. This one would measure, it doesn't make any difference, dressage, close contact, or all-purpose. They're all going to be measured diagonally from that nail head to the center of the cantle. Our next saddle is the saddle seat saddle, or the cutback, or the lane fox, depending on what your generation is. This saddle is measured the same way as your English saddles. It's measured from the center of the head nail diagonally across to the center of the seat. This one's measuring 19.5 inch. Now, it was probably sold as a 20. Cutbacks are one of the very few saddles that rarely ever measures exactly what it says it is. This saddle is 19.5 inches, but it corresponds to about a 16.5 to 17-inch seat in a hunt saddle. And why is that? Very simply because the head on a cutback is 3 to 4 inches further forward, and see, they're measured from the same spot, but the nail head is 3 to 4 inches further away from the back of the seat. So again, this is something where if you're transferring over from, say, a 17-inch close contact, say you ride hunt seat, and now all of a sudden you're going to ride a gaited horse and you need a saddle that corresponds to something that's comfortable for you. If you add that 4 inches to your seat size, that will tell you what cutback size that you should be looking at. So generally, if you're riding a 17-inch seat, you're looking at a 20-inch cutback. If you're riding anything bigger, 17.5 or 18, you'll look at a 22. Anything beyond 18, well, now you're getting into custom saddles and a lot of money. But that's how they're measured, so always be aware, center of the nail head, center of the seat. And just because they're advertising it as a 21-inch saddle, ask them to measure it all the way, because if it's 20.5 and you truly need a 21 or beyond, you don't want to get yourself shorted, especially when you're buying a saddle sight unseen online. And finally, our Western saddle. Western saddles are pretty simple, very straightforward. You go from the back face of the pommel straight across to the stitch line. This one's measuring 15 inches. Very, very simple. 15-inch seat, 16-inch seat, 17. They come in half sizes rarely. But also, with a Western saddle, you can at least measure your gullet. Whereas the English saddles, you can't really measure a gullet on an English saddle and tell whether it's truly a wide or truly a medium, because all manufacturers have different stuffing ways of putting their stuffing in on the panels. Some of the panels are foam, and there's just no way to say, yes, this is a wide. We recommend on all of the English saddles or anything like an Australian stock saddle, which is styled like an English saddle underneath with panels, that if you need to know how wide it is, that you take a wither tracing of your horse, lay it down on a piece of paper, measure down 6 inches, and then measure across. When you ask the person that owns the saddle how wide it is, ask them to measure 6 inches down from the under part of the gullet, straight down, and then measure across. What do you get? That should get you pretty close. It's not perfect, but it'll get you very close. With a Western saddle, though, the beauty is that they're all measured, the gullets are all measured from the same spot. You take your tape, you find your concho in the front here, you go to the back side of that concho, right deep into the fleece, and push on it. Once you push on that side, then you bring it across and you push it down to the other side. This saddle's measuring almost 7.5 inches, which is odd for a 15-inch seat, because generally speaking, and this is for most manufacturers, a semi-quarter horse bar is going to be 6 7/8. A full quarter horse bar is going to be 7 inches. Halflinger trees and Arabian trees run the gamut from 7 1/8 to 7.5, and then draft saddles run 8 and up. Okay, and that's just general rules to follow. So this saddle's only got a 15-inch seat, and the other thing is it has very short skirts. If we measure our skirt front to back, we're only going 24 inches, which is quite small. That, coupled with the wide tree in the front, indicates to me that this is an Arabian cut saddle. It's a little bit lower in the fork. It's very wide across there to handle the horses that are relatively wide. Most Arabs are relatively wide. But more importantly, Arabians are missing that one vertebrae, so their backs are quite a bit shorter than most other breeds. Therefore, they require, on a square-skirted saddle, it requires that little short 24-inch skirt so that it doesn't interfere with the hip as they move. So now you have it. That's how you measure your saddles. Now you won't be getting the wrong size, hopefully. And if you ever have any questions, don't hesitate to call us at 603-483-4833, and you can go on our website, www.griffinbrook.com.